What's up, guys? It's been a while. I started school end of August, early September, so I'm just trying to get the hang of it and stuff like that. At this point in time, I've gotten the hang of it, and I want to start getting back into my, I guess, video grind, if you will. Obviously, as you can tell by the name of the video, we're not really even going over. We're really just going over the response of my teacher's response to. What am I saying? Let- What?
Testing.
Oh my goodness. Let me just start over, barring any interruptions caused by myself or speakers I didn't know existed in my room. Every week, my teacher has these basically like question and answers, and they're divided up by groups. They're grouped by last name. And this week was my group's turn to answer or ask questions. My teacher is my geology teacher. She's a PhD. She's gone to school, whatever. She's a naturalist as well. So I decided I'd just ask the question. I mean, I didn't have any other question. And, I've never sat under the teaching of a PhD. That being said, though, I knew the response I was going to get. I'm going to be frank with you guys. I wasn't really looking for an answer because I already knew what the answer was. The fact of the matter is, evolution is not a fact. If you ask a naturalist, of course they'll say, "Oh yeah, we know it's not a fact," blah blah blah. But they act and speak as though it is. And when I first got saved, I would say I was intimidated by the manner in which naturalists would act and speak about evolution as though it was a proven fact, almost in a way such as like, "Been there, done that. Let's move on." So the point of this was really to show that it is not so much as cut and dry or case closed, as if you will, as naturalists would like you to believe. So let me show you the question. I've read creationist journalists that suggest the Earth is no more than 6,000 years old. Using radiometric dating as an example, the most commonly cited argument against radiometric dating, placing the Earth around 4.6 billion years old, is the fact that a number of assumptions are being made. An example, the initial condition of the rock is known. The amount of parent or daughter elements in a sample has not been altered by processes other than radioactive decay. The decay rate, or half-life, of the parent isotope has remained consistent since the rock was formed. I apologize for the length of this question, but is this counter-argument at all viable? And if so, in relation to the potential assumptions being made, what is the likelihood of the Earth being much younger than that which we currently think? Of everything I've learned in science courses thus far, this debate has piqued my interest the most. Thank you. Now, these three assumptions are important, but this third one is probably the most important. And I wish I had harped on it a bit more. And if she gives us another chance to ask questions, I'm probably going to ask, how do we know that the rate of change, or in relation to radiometric dating, the decay rate of the parent isotope has remained consistent throughout the rock's measuring? Because if there was evidence for a cataclysmic event, I don't know, maybe such as a world flood, then that would severely alter the suggested range of 4.3 to 4.7 billion. Severely in the sense of billions of years having to be shaved off. So let's go ahead and go over what she said. Keep in mind, this was a beginning of class thing, so she didn't really have time to go in depth. But I already know if she had gone in depth, she really wouldn't have had anything else of significance to say in relation to the answer to the question. So let's just go over it.
We're going to do question and answer. Let's start from the end and work our way backwards. Kevin. Oh, no. Kevin? Oh, dear. Okay, so Kevin's question has Creationist Journal in the title. So we are going to, this is a science class. We relate solely on the data. Generally, I try not to answer this sort of question because it's kind of superfluous. Nevertheless, because it is asked, I will attempt to answer it. The question is, if you look at the journals about the Earth being 6,000 years old, using radiometric data as an example, the arguments against it relates to the number of assumptions that are being made when you do radiometric dating. Radiometric dating is a particular animal because it only goes back so many years. Let's talk about isotopic dating in general. The way I kind of think about this kind of question, and it gets to questions like when you're talking about there were two different theories about how evolution works, and they're really like hard. It was hard to me in first year to kind of figure it out. But the way that I convince myself as a scientist, if I ever have a question like this about a widely accepted theory, is to look for the amount of data that has been replicable. So if we have an assumption, it is an assumption until we start to have the same data again and again and again and again and again. And this is the argument for climate change, is that we get the same answer by doing like 5 different methodologies the same way all the time. Radiometric dating, tree ring dating, which is not radiometric dating, isotopic dating, ice cores, any kind of like layering, and there is a couple of ways that you can date stuff. So if we look at isotopic dating, the number of times it has been proven, not just in science, but in like nuclear physics, in the way that our nuclear power plants work. If you were to completely get rid of all of that kind of understanding, basically nuclear power doesn't work unless the half-life principle and all the assumptions that go into it are true. So anytime you come across this kind of, and even if it's not about creationism, and even if you're coming across something that you're like, oh, I don't understand that, I don't agree with it, look for the repetition in the data. And anything that gets repeated again and again and again, it moves sort of from a theory it moves from a hypothesis to a theory. And then you're pretty sure every time it gets done that it is more applicable than the alternative theory. So that's kind of what science works. I think I've said this before. The way that I always explain climate change, like if my Uber drivers ask me about it, and I say I'm a geoscientist, and they're like, oh, what's going on with climate change? Is it not real or something? And I'm like, I think I've said this to you before. If I could prove that it wasn't real, I'd make so much money. Like I would be set for life with grants. But every time we go in and try and disprove it, we get the same answer. The line just keeps going up. There's a great Daily Show skit about this. The line just keeps going up, and it just keeps going up, and it's just going up, and every single time we try and do it, it just goes up. And so once you get past that, you're just like, no, that's really true. Nevertheless, it is kind of hard. I did get caught up in a thing that isotopic. I think when I first started studying, it was on the wrong webpage. Be careful of the internet, y'all. This is why when I'm saying Googling stuff for quizzes, hang out with a .edu.org thing, because it's not the answer we're looking for. Doesn't relate to the data. Abby asked what's the oldest volcano in Delaware.
Okay, so there's a response. I didn't really expect anything different from asking this question, or a similar question over and over again. And I'm not really going to go in and analyze it. I think it's obvious that it isn't as cut and dry. It isn't as cased closed as, even in the ending, when she got to her ending, she tried to put it in a way that, yes, it is case closed because, well, we've done this so many times. But there's an inconsistency there. In the fact that as a naturalist, you have no idea if the same thing that worked today is going to work tomorrow. And this gets into a different video, but gravity, for example, right? You may have gotten lucky as a naturalist. You may have gotten lucky that gravity has just, every day that you've woken up, just worked for the last 10 to 20 years. But you have no indication as a naturalist that when you wake up tomorrow, gravity is going to be in full force. You have no indication that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. That's a whole nother realm of philosophy that we'll get into in a later video. But yet again, we're able to see the inconsistencies naturalists hold within their own core beliefs. If you guys like this video, give it a like, subscribe, or follow me if you haven't already. And until next time, see you guys later.